So the Indy 500 is done, everyone seems to hate Joseph Newgarden, and Pato O'Ward has shot himself in the head. What better scenery to be the backdrop of the Detroit Grand Prix? We're just a week on from the chaos in Indianapolis, yet the Indycar circus has already shifted its focus to its next event. A temporary street circuit around the Motor City played host to the 6th official round of the season. And if you've but glanced at social media this weekend, you'll know I've been sat here rubbing my hands in excitement to cover this one. Let's then quickly ask you to like and subscribe despite knowing absolutely nothing about this video yet, and with that, roll the title card. So as IndyCar moved on from its biggest race of the year, we've got plenty to talk about on the news front. We'll start with the big story that occurred midway through the weekend, and that's that Joseph Newgarden has signed a new multi-year contract with Team Penske. Oh wait, no one cares. To be honest, this news seems so inevitable, I didn't even realise the American was out of contract at the end of the season. That said, would he really go anywhere else? Let's just hope that as part of his new deal, Newgarden has to reread the sport's rules and regulations. We don't want him using push-to-pass to cause a massacre on victory lane now, do we? As I said, that news was about as certain as the impending cancellation of this channel. What was a little bit more out of left field was what was going on at Dale Coyne Racing. The team appeared to have been scraping the bottom of the barrel for drivers since the start of the season. We've had the NPC in Colin Brown, then Giotto stepped in for a race or two. There's probably someone else on that list who's so irrelevant I've just forgotten about them. And this weekend, the team showed just how desperate it really was by turning to the French. 34-year-old Tristan Vautier hasn't raced in IndyCar since a one-off appearance in 2017. He does admittedly have a best finish of 4th around Detroit, though that was 9 years ago, and the circuit then was about as similar to this one as I am to Lizzo. Make a fat joke and I'll fucking ban you. The final and arguably biggest driver change heading into this one lied at Meyershank Racing. After Tom Blomqvist's Indy 500 lasted a singular corner, the team have opted to bench the Briton for the next 2 races and redivert Helio's flight to the retirement home to downtown Detroit. The team's argument here is since Blomqvist is sat on the bubble for IndyCar's Winner's Circle, which for those who, like me, have no idea what the that was, as the top 22 places in the championship, they've drafted Castroneves in to get that entry into a more secure position, before handing the car back to Tom so he can pootle around for the remainder of the year. That said, given what they did to Simon Pagenaud last season, expect never to hear from this guy ever again. Blomqvist benching was at least good news for Marcus Ericsson, who could drive happy now, knowing that he won't be thrown into a wall and mounted in IndyCar to take on the Discovery Channel.
Oh, big right rear hit.
Oh wait, never mind, he seems perfectly capable of doing that himself. The Andretti wasn't the only one to fall foul of turn 7. Kiffin Simpson also using the opportunity to remind us he was still alive before Jack Harvey took it one step further and was spotted on the exit with his car hanging out of its arse like me on a typical Friday night. Just a little bit down the road from turn 7 is turn 8, obviously. That said, as practice went on, it appeared few understood the definition of the word turn. Tristan Vautier was busy getting acclimated back into IndyCar meanwhile, and despite being remarkably underwhelming as we all might have expected, whoever took his mugshot is clearly racist against French people. He literally looks as if you asked AI to draw one Pablo Montoya. Now, on a short and tight street circuit, traffic is always going to be a bit of an issue. And oh look what friends have found each other on track yet again. McLaughlin and Grosjean did a good job of not sending each other into the commentary box, but as there were close moments up and down the field, it appeared the NBC team were enjoying things a little too much.
Whoa, 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 wee!
The session would end with last year's race winner Alex Palou on top spot and Christian Rasmussen parking up for reasons that are yet to become clear. Maybe they're the same reasons Ed Carpenter had on signing him in the first place. Saturday morning's practice 2 would see a different name go to the top, Andretti's Colton Herter ending the session fastest as things began to heat up around Detroit, in more ways than one. The session would start with the Grosjean curse continuing to haunt the number 28 of Marcus Ericsson, and on track, drivers were still having difficulty fathoming the idea of turning the steering wheel at turn 8. The theories of Scott Dixon going senile continued as he flick-spinned his Chip Ganassi into the wall and the runoff as well. As all that was going on, let's check back in on Marcus Ericsson.
Far as he got.
Glad that's going well. The other Andretti of Herter, meanwhile, was about to be the first driver to encounter the sport's resident bellend in Santino Ferrucci. The AJ Foyt driver started his morning by weaving to block the 26, despite this being his lap into the pits. It would then turn out that his hatred for Andretti's extended to the 27 of Carl Kirkwood, barging past the AutoNation Honda in a move that's apparently Kyle's fault.
Exactly. Whoa!
You turned into me. You turned into me.
Actually, you know what? There's a bit too much profanity in this one, and you guys all know how much I hate swearing, so let's find some more appropriate commentary for this.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Oh, whoa, whoa, wee!
Ferrucci would go on to describe the situation as a dickish move. Not sure if he was talking to Kirkwood or the ferret that lives on his head. He would then be forced to later apologise for his actions and an allegedly homophobic remark made about the Andretti pair, though it wouldn't take long before he blocked Romain Grosjean in qualifying and showed us that apology meant absolute jack shit. In fairness, the Frenchman was looking for an excuse for his lack of form this weekend, Ferrucci handing it to him and relegating Romain to 8th in Group 1. Shout out to this AJ Foyt engineer though for being inclusive and providing some sign language for the deaf community. Let's move on to some drivers that still have an ounce of talent, and Théo Pourchaire was back in the McLaren and showing everyone why he now has that drive full time, going fastest in Group 1 in the performance that would eventually put him 7th on the grid for race day. Slightly further back, Stingray Rob was still in his whatever that livery is car and coming off a sublime performance in the Indy 500. He was looking to carry that momentum forward into Detroit, however his ability to progress was hampered when he picked up what was left of Benjamin Pedersen's IndyCar career on his front left suspension. Pato O'Ward looked for a second like he might just miss out on the fast 12, but snuck in at the end to knock the Marshal out of qualifying. The Mexican was looking to bounce back following his disappointment last weekend. Oh, never mind, he stopped out on track for some reason. In the most embarrassing IndyCar moments, since Ericsson showed us he couldn't count to 4 2 weeks ago, O'Ward let Kirkwood through only to fail to make it around the corner himself. The resultant red flag knocked the McLaren driver out of qualifying, but on the bright side, if you speed up the footage, he looks like he's having a rave in that number 5 car. Herta would lead the way into the Firestone Fast 6 as Dixon cruelly denied Pourchaire in the dying seconds. At least Ferrucci was now out though. That just left the battle for pole, and while Palou looked quick initially, there was no stopping the Andretti cars. Colton Herta stormed to the P1 award, and Carl Kirkwood literally couldn't stop as he entered the session with a red flag and lost his 2 best laps of qualifying. Sunday would kick off with sprinklings of rain on the formation lap, and with everyone heading down to turn 1 on dries, the 4-car pile-up was inevitable. Will Power lost the rear end, then tagged the front wing of Théo Pourchaire, and with the first corner now resembling a washed IndyCar driver museum, we could all laugh at Ferrucci as the cars attempted to line up for a restart. Herta would comfortably keep hold of his lead this time, while Christian Lundgaard won the FP1 Biggest Balls award for his dive on Scott Dixon. I'm not sure what else happened at the start, as there was then a glitch with the timing screens, which was obvious as it said Romain Grosjean was in first. Alex Palou was nice enough to test if it was working again when he began dropping like a stone in the early stages of the race. Christian Lundgaard found himself in a similar position, but at least dived into the pits before the next caution came out. Helio Castroneves continuing his great job of getting his car into the winner's circle. Okay, in fairness, this wasn't his fault. It was the blind ferret again, Santino continuing to make friends in the IndyCar playground. We'd go green again on lap 22, but the yellows were almost out again a handful of tours later. Rasmussen's Ed Carpenter racing car deciding it didn't want to wait for its occupant to plant it into the wall and thus turning itself into a mobile firework. There were still spits of rain on the camera, but teams were adamant there was nothing on the radar. When Scott McLaughlin skid into the wall, they were still adamant there was nothing on the radar. And when the circuit was drenched under caution, they were still adamant there was no rain on the radar. The Herta bottle then came from his team this time round as they pitted the 26 one lap late. The top 7 decided that they would stay out on the dries however, and Kirkwood would steal the lead off Lundgaard into turn 3. Will Power was having a bit of a mare at this stage, getting a penalty for failing to pack up correctly under yellow, then getting another one for pile driving VK on the restart. With the field under caution again, the mess continued as drivers now tried to pit back onto the slick tyre. Joseph Newgarden then continued his villain arc by sending the Hy-Vee mechanics to the 2024 Paralympic Games. Lap 46 would see us try to go green again, and fail again as Herta tried taking 2 cars into one corner and instead just straight lined it into the runoff. With the Herta bottle now solidified, let's try this one. Oh, for f***'s sake. Christian tried another lunge, only this one was completely brain dead, and with Romain Grosjean exploding for a second time, he at least showed off his comedic side when he tried to imply he had a chance of winning the championship this year. Or maybe with those gestures he could join O'Ward in that downtown Detroit party. We'd run over half the race under caution now, but on lap 60 we'd try our best to go once again. It was Théo Pourchaire who forgot he had a brake pedal this time, though thankfully everyone involved managed to stay pointing in the right direction and we actually got a bit further than turn 1. Carl Kirkwood was leading the way. Was he the actual race leader as far as strategy was concerned? With the amount of cautions we've had, I have no f***ing idea, and judging by the commentary team, I don't think they do either. We'd had so many cautions in fact, Stingray Rob had managed to get into the top 15. 2 good weekends in a row was not allowed apparently, however, and Scott McLaughlin became an enemy of the channel as he punted our man into the barrier, bringing out the pace car one more time. The 7th caution gave IndyCar officials time to penalise basically the entire grid, as by this point everyone had been involved in some form of avoidable contact. Scott Dixon was now at the front, don't ask me how, with Colton Herta running right behind. In his head, anyway, he was actually 1 lap down. We go green with 31st corners to go, and I say first corners as that's all we'd last once again. Joseph Newgarden and Alex Palou now coming to blows, and I've ran out of ways to take the piss out of this. With the pace car now needing to be refueled, lap 74 would mark our next attempt. Scott Dixon still led the way, and Tristan Vautier was somehow in the top 3, but now was busy identifying as a new chicane around the Detroit street circuit. We'd actually make it a lap this time, so congratulations to the IndyCar drivers for actually doing your f***ing job. Marcus Armstrong was gunning for his first IndyCar podium, but had Carl Kirkwood looking up his prostate right behind. With Dixon and unknown on fuel, this could well have been the battle for P1. Kirkwood didn't seem to get that memo though, as he began to go in the opposite direction. Further back, Augie Canapino was attempting to secure his first top 10 in IndyCar, requiring the commentary team to get out their tissues and lotion. Marcus Ericsson was also coming into the equation for the lead. The number 28 Andretti car was catching up to the Chip Ganassis and had the help of a lap down Colton Herta slowing the leaders down as well. With 5 laps to go though, Dixon finally made it past Colton, who went through the pits to eliminate himself in the lead battle in a very sporting move if you listen to the NBC coverage, who appeared to be blind to the fact that it just spent the last 10 laps deliberately holding the 9 car up. With Dixon now assuring for victory, Marcus Ericsson was able to get past Armstrong for second. The fuel-saving master up front though had done it again, and Scott came across the line to be the first 2-time winner in IndyCar 2024, taking the championship lead in the process. Well, thank that's over. The cautions were fun at first, but I never thought I'd say I'd get bored of them. Or maybe I'm just still salty that Stingray got wiped out, who knows. IndyCar didn't disappoint yet again though. This race had it all. Crashes, penalties, brain failure. I think I'm going to steal that one from now on. But if you enjoyed the comedy review, be sure to drop it a like and get subscribed for more, as I'll be back next week as the sport heads to Road America. I've actually got a lot more than just that planned for next week, and my patrons and channel members will be getting early access or previews to all of it. So a big thank you to all of those who have signed up recently, and if you want to join in on the fun, all the links are down in the description below. I'll be back very soon with another video, but until then, have a good one.